Hey guys, my name's Casey Clark, and I wanted to talk to you guys about sports psychology. So, here's my understanding of sports psychology. All right, I'm not a sports psychologist, but sports psychology has been a big part of my life. From anything from sports to any type of stressors in my life, and really it's in a lot of your guys' lives as well, and just about everything that you guys have to do. So, if I was to explain it briefly, and a very simple, broad explanation would be helping to clear and filter athletes' mental hygiene. So, I said athletes, but it goes way beyond athletes. So, anything that has to do with you going through potential challenges or stressors in your life, you're having to go through the process of what is known as sports psychology. You're going through that field. So, what is that, and how does that have to do with challenges and stressors in your life? Well, big thing is trying to find what they call the optimal mental state. Sorry. Basically, what is going on is you have this thing that's basically how bored you are, all the way up to how excited you are. And then crossing that, like an XY axis, is anxiety and relaxation. And you try and find that middle ground that is in between how bored you are and how excited you could be, and how relaxed you could be, and how anxious you could be as well. So, with that, that's where it's believed that you will accomplish the most or be the most successful in anything that you're trying to do. Anything from an exam to a job interview to playing in front of thousands of fans. All of those different things would go under the category of sports psychology. So, with that, there's a lot of subtopics of sports psychology. And with those, some of the main ones, the big ones that some people might realize are visualization, resilience training, and motivation. All of those things which are huge in sports, but will go way beyond sports as well. If you're trying to be a salesman, you're trying to get your first job, you're trying to pass this class, whatever it is, has a lot to do with what your mind is going into these exams, these interviews, these games in front of a whole bunch of people. If you're way too excited and you're way too nervous, then you're not going to be able to perform at your best. If you're somewhere in the middle, you'll be able to be excited, be awake, be looking around, understanding what you're doing, but not be too over the top to where I can't even focus because I'm afraid something bad's going to happen. So, with that, a lot of different subtopics go under the category of sports psychology. A lot of people will go into sports psychology, and then once they get into their masters, they'll actually pick a specific part just because of how broad the idea of sports psychology really is. And then they'll try and be specific and specialize in a certain thing and then find a job in that area. So with sports psychology, when I did my research on it, it showed that there was about a 12% increase in jobs from 2012 to 2020. And with that, the average salary from all different types of jobs going under the topic of sports psychology was actually 40,000, and it went all the way up to exceeding 100,000 a year. So a big difference depending on what you want to do and how serious you want to go into sports psychology. I don't want to bore you too much. I did an internship, and I actually got the opportunity to do it while I was at Doane College and, well, Doane University now. So it was basically a sports psychology internship, and it also went into a bit of counseling. But a lot of different stuff I got to do had to do with sports psychology on me. The doctor, Wes Syme, great guy, he actually knew that I was an athlete, and so got to do a lot of the testing stuff on me while helping me learn about the idea of being a sports psychologist. Some of the stuff that we did, reaction testing, which was like the ability to do certain types of drills or games on the computer while he was being next to me messing with my head, such as telling me that I was getting an awful score when in reality I was doing pretty good, but he wanted to see how I would handle it. All while this was going on, he had a heartbeat monitor that was connected to my finger, and he could tell when I was really nervous or excited, or when I was actually at the what's called homeostasis, which is basically your normal heartbeat rate. So with those things, he could tell how I was reacting to different stressors he was putting on me while I was doing a simple reaction test on the computer. It was frustrating at times, but it was actually a really cool idea of something simple like that, but going into big, broad topics that you would encounter in the world, like a final exam, um, trying to get your dream job, your interviews, all that stuff, like that normal people can relate to, actually has a huge deal to do with your mental state. If you look into athletes, the big difference between a good player and a professional player is their mental game. They both work really hard, they both train a really lot, but who can react under pressure? Who's able to still perform when there are 10,000 people watching you at a soccer game and watching your every move, your every mistake, everything like that goes into it. So when you watch those crazy professionals, pick one of your choice. Off the top of my head goes LeBron James. He goes through so much different turmoil and people accusing him of being an awful player, and he still goes out and performs all the time. Even if you're not a LeBron James fan or you don't know who he is, he's done very well with his mental game. And so with that, when you go into sports, I see stuff totally different. When you go into like a sport like golf, it doesn't seem very hard, but once you realize the mental pressure that they go under, it's actually really cool, and it's really, really opened my eyes on how tough some sports that don't seem like very much physically are mentally. I wrote down a few things I wanted to touch on with you guys before I let you go. I did some research on Navy SEALs, and with that, I realized that we all know how hard they train and the physical stuff that they go through, but the thing that people don't realize is how much of that is mental. Navy SEALs, I read a lot of stuff on them when I was doing my research paper for Heather Lambert, actually, and some of the stuff went into how they cope with these crazy tasks that normal people like us would never try and do. And they went into making goals, goal setting, resilience on I'm just going to get through this next thing, and then I'm going to do it again, and then I'm going to do it again. And so basically their mindset going through these crazy tasks was a lot different than the normal people seeing a task like that and then trying to go do it. I thought that was really cool. Some people may not, but I did a lot of stuff on Navy SEALs just because they were kind of my idols, and that was something that I thought would be something really cool if I could accomplish something like that. But never tried it. Still kind of scares me. Something else that I wanted to touch on for anybody that was thinking about sports psychology, you usually do have to go through and get your master's. And with that, that means grad school and applying to grad school. And all that stuff really scared me because I wanted to really go into sports psychology, but I wasn't the best student in the classroom. And so with that, I worried about the process, and I was like, I'm not going to be good enough. They're not going to take me. Should I even go through with the process? And me personally, if I can tell you guys anything, I would want you to try and go through the process. Why should you try if you might fail? Well, you might fail, but everything that I learned going through that process and going through that test to get in to just apply to these grad schools was something that really kind of opened my eyes to what I can do when I put my mind to something. And not just in the sports field. I realized what I could do there, But in the classroom, it was a totally different story. And so when I went through the process, I got accepted to a school, and it was great. And I wasn't, just telling you now, I wasn't the best student, but I worked hard my last year, and then I did all the things to apply to schools, and I got lucky, whatever it is. But I'm just letting you know that it is possible. Don't have to be the best student, but you do have to try. And so if you don't try, you'd never know. If this is something that you're really interested in, by all means, send me questions. Ask Heather. I know a few sports psychologists personally that would love to answer any questions. So with that, I hope I helped out. If you have more questions, if you want me to go in depth on something else, let me know, and I'd love to help you guys out. Go Doan.